All right, we are already to the point of the meeting for council comments and new business. And I am going to take the privilege of mayor and call on myself first. I did have some, I did want to make comment at the start of the meeting, and given my technical difficulties and inability to speak at the start of the meeting, I thought I would take the opportunity just to make the comments now as we go into councilor comments. And really, it's just to take a moment to acknowledge the tragic event that occurred in Boulder yesterday. You know, as we've all seen in the news, and I'm sure we all have our own individual thoughts and feelings, but the fact that 10 people about 15 miles from here were going about their everyday routines. They were working in a grocery store, they were visiting a grocery store, and they didn't leave the grocery store alive. Their lives were ended in that moment. You know, our community of Golden is standing with Boulder. We know that Boulder is grieving now. And I just want to say that we here in Golden are grieving with you too. It's hit home for many people here in Golden, given the numerous ties and relationships that exist between our two cities. And I've heard over and over comments from individuals who used to live in Boulder or who work in Boulder or went to school there. And there are so many close relationships that is felt here in Golden and across the state. And I think what has hit people too is not just mourning of the senseless killings. You know, there's no way to make sense of it, but there's also mourning of the loss of our sense of safety, that this could happen in a grocery store on any given day. One of the lives lost was Boulder police officer Eric Talley. He responded to an emergency call, and I don't have the words to express what that loss means for a public official killed in the line of duty. So I am going to share with the community the words from our own Chief Kilpatrick and what he sent to the Golden Police Department. So this is from Chief Kilpatrick. He says, "I did not know Officer Talley, but what I do know about him is that he was willing to give his life to protect the life of others. There is no doubt that in confronting the shooter, he saved lives. He is a hero, and his actions are ones which I will never forget for as long as I live. I am forever proud of him. And I am proud of you. In the giving of his life, Officer Talley exemplifies what is best in each and every one of you as police officers. Every day you come to work unknowing what the future holds, but fully understanding that it could be your last. And yet you continue to show up and give your all to make this community safe." Thank you, Chief, for allowing me to share your words with our Golden community. And thank you to the women and men of our Golden Police Department who I know are mourning along with their the folks in the Boulder Police Department as well.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks for your comments. I certainly kind of echo those, and you really have had an opportunity to reflect on the work that the Golden community has been doing, and that we've had an opportunity to be a part of this last year. And so much of the conversation relies on this thought of understanding the specific motives, which I think is really important to understand why, but I think it can maybe mask the general consensus of kind of what binds these sort of horrific mass shootings together. And I think it's a combination of insufficient gun safety laws, and I think a myriad of ideologies of hate that are really fomented across our nation. Certainly, we've seen this in the last couple of decades. And I believe more than ever, our response as Golden Knights to defeat and improve this and make ourselves be safer is to really focus on the positive, kind of the flip side of that, and focusing on justice, equity, diversity and inclusion. And that is what we've been looking at. And I think that, to me, that work that we're doing really matters. I think that leaning into opportunities to continue to support each other in our community is what must happen to find a positive path forward, because otherwise I think it devolves into arguments that certainly doesn't seem to feel like it makes anybody any safer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for your words and those of the chief, and for our PD that went to help. We're blessed.
Thanks, Mayor. I think I'm still processing, right? Like you mentioned grief. We all process our own grief in a different way and in a different format. And, I'm headquarters in Boulder for my daytime job, and got staff and folks there. So I'm still working through it all. And I think that the 3 points that really came up for me were, one, really understanding our Golden Police Department and just how important they are and how valued they are and how we don't appreciate them enough. The conversation around, racism, bigotry, hate, like that's just not tolerated in Golden, and what we can do to make sure that we can keep ourselves safe and to be kind to each other, give each other support. And I'll just add that if anybody's out there and processing in their own way and just needs some help, there's some crisis lines for the state of Colorado. The number that I have is 844-493-8255, and that connects you to resources, counseling, crisis resources if you need it. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I echo everybody else's comments. I'm still processing. When Columbine happened, I was in the Jeffco courthouse in a benchmark committee meeting, watching the sheriff's department go down there without thought of their own safety. When this incident happened in Boulder, I heard sirens going from Golden to Boulder with our officers at the Jeffco Sheriff not thinking of their own safety. The email that you referenced earlier, Madam Mayor, also specifically thanked a number of our officers that went to Boulder, and I wanted to call them out by name. Sergeant Salentine, Officers Brown, Garuli, Hensley, Jones, and Pike. If you see those folks around, and if you see any of our police officers around, give them our heartfelt thanks, and I ask the public to do the same. They take on a lot for us, and the rest of us don't generally put our lives at stake knowingly. So thank all of them.
I think everyone's covered it pretty well in terms of how strongly we feel about the loss in Boulder and our appreciation for our own police department. I just add as a comment that when I saw our officers, personally saw them headed north, I was pleased that we could help, and that was regional support. And if anything ever happened in Golden, we can count on that same support from all of the surrounding communities. So we are safe, and we can be even safer if something untoward were to occur. So once again, thanks to our police department. I feel safe in Golden. Thank you.
Yeah, I too am proud of our police officers and saddened by what happened in Boulder. And, as Councilor Haseman said, we help each other out. And to that extent, they're all a family. Folks who work in public safety, it's one thing that's gotten clear through to me over the years of being in this field, that police departments and fire departments in particular are all family, even outside of their own departments. They are there for one another, and it's what they do. And we certainly are grateful for our own police department. I appreciate them.